Hello candle lovers, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Greg and this is All About Candles. I'm your self-proclaimed Canadian candle connoisseur. Happy Sunday everyone, we made it to the end of another week. The weekly wax wrap up is just a really quick breakdown of all of the candles that I finished burning this week, how they smelled, how they performed. I've got a lot to get into as well at the end of this video, but let's take care of business first and dive into some of these candles. I finished up Everlasting Magic. It's been kind of like Halloween week at my channel this week, and so most of these candles I have full-length reviews out for already, and I will link those below in case you want a little bit more tea. Everlasting Magic actually was a huge disappointment. I ordered this from the American website because I really wanted to try it last year, and I mean, I just couldn't have been more disappointed. The only cool thing about this candle really is the lid, and the fact that the fragrance itself was okay, even if it was extremely weak. I mean, yeah, what a bummer. It came out again this year with like a globe topper on it, which I thought looked kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. But I mean, definitely not a repurchase for me after my first experience with this one. The scent notes on it are Bejeweled Berries, Phantom Petals, and Enchanted Musk. Literally just the formula for like a fruity floral Bath & Body Works body care vibe. And the scent itself I actually quite liked. I pick up on a little bit of plum in there. I feel like the berry is probably like a raspberry or strawberry, but not a really super tart one. Just more of a generic red berry, a sort of generic wildflower-ish floral, and then something a little bit musky and soft on the base. I mean, it was nice enough, just pretty unremarkable, and the candle just performed horribly. I mean, the first two burns on it, it burned all right, and maybe the strength and throw was like a 4, but then every subsequent burn, the last 2/3 of this candle, it was just dud ounce city, itty bitty wicks, teeny tiny flames, maybe a 2 or a 3 for strength and throw, just pretty much unnoticeable. And so I just kind of burned this candle for ambiance with like a different scented candle, and I don't really think it interfered with my other fragrance very much at all. So yeah, definitely not a repurchase for me, definitely not a recommendation for you with the Everlasting Magic. I also finished up Spooky Moontini. I think this one was a little bit more successful. The design here, the label has kind of like some cool holographic skeletons playing in a band. What I don't like about these labels this year was that they are kind of like the aluminum sticker on the back, which means the light doesn't shine through them at all. So if you're like burning it in a dimmer space, it's just not great appearance, which is a shame because the wax is actually a really pretty color. And this reminds me a lot of Enchanted Candy Potion, except it's got something, it's a little bit more higher pitched and has something a little bit zesty and fruity on top. So I'd say this was like a remix of Enchanted Candy Potion, which is a candle I actually really like, but it hasn't come back for like years. The scent notes on Spooky Moontini are Mystical Berry Potion, Spooktacular Sponge Sugar, and Spellbinding Citrus. Yeah, definitely just a remix and inferior version of Enchanted Candy Potion for me. It's very high-pitched, very sugary, quite fruity, and pretty one-dimensional and unbalanced. However, I didn't totally hate it. It was kind of just like a bit of a nice sweet treat, and it performed really quite well, which helps. There were some burns where I feel like it dudded out a bit and didn't do so well, but for the most part it would correct itself and burn fairly nicely. I'd say that the strength and throw was like a 6.5 to a 7. Definitely had a presence about it. Probably a 6.5 in my more open area and a 7 in like the bedroom. Yeah, I don't think this will be a repurchase for me in the future. I just want Enchanted Candy Potion to come back. Not a repurchase. I wouldn't heartily recommend it either. There's just other stuff out there that I think is a little bit better. Oh, and Spooky Moontini, it did have a cool lid. It had like these sort of a trio of like skeletons there, a trio of skulls. It was kind of a neat, funky lid. Very similar in format to the Halloween candles that we got from Bath & Body Works last year. This is a Ghoul Friend from last year that I finished burning this year. I'm not even too sure why I purchased this one. I know that this isn't really like my type of fragrance, but I picked one up last year, and yeah, this isn't a fragrance for me though. The scent notes are dark strawberries, ghostly peony, and spine-chilling citrus. It's a little bit more of like a softer floral vibe, but still really quite sweet. And I really didn't love the packaging on these last year. I'm not entirely sure how I ended up with this. Must have been a really good sale, or maybe they were hanging around still at SAS. I don't know. But yeah, not a repurchase for me or a recommendation, although it performed okay. It was a fairly nice, decent, clean burn all the way down to the bottom. At the very end there, the whole thing liquefied and the wicks started to travel a little bit. I'd say strength and throw was probably like a 6, maybe a 6.5 in like my more open space. I also finished up Black Cat from Goose Creek, and I fell in love with this candle, you guys. I think that it's a terrible concept. Nothing about this candle screams Black Cat to me. However, I do think that the packaging is kind of cute, and it looked really pretty and glowed nicely when it was burning, and there was a gorgeous blue wax on it. Look at how clean this burned for a Goose Creek candle. This is a really nice clean burn. That wax didn't really get discolored at all. One of the cleanest burning Goose Creek candles that I think I've burned, and I'd have to say that this is probably in my top 5 favorite Goose Creek candles now. This is the first time that I burned it. The scent notes are vanilla musk, marshmallow, campfire woods, and sandalwood. I think that the scent notes are a touch misleading. I really expected this to be a dupe of Marshmallow Fireside, and when I first smelled it on cold, I was definitely getting Marshmallow Fireside vibes, but man, when you're burning this candle, it really comes alive. And yeah, on top you definitely get like a sweet marshmallowy note, but then it's actually a very like mid-range to bassy candle, and you pick up on a massive amount of like smokiness and woodsiness. The sandalwood note is very pronounced, and I also feel like I pick up on a bit of a cedar as well. They list campfire woods and sandalwood. It smells like a real raging like bonfire. Like there is something quite smoky about the fragrance on this one, and I absolutely loved it. It's actually really quite deep and rich, and dare I say, I like this more than Marshmallow Fireside from Bath & Body Works, and it performed way better too. Yeah, this really came alive when it was burning. I'd say strength and throw on this was an 8, folks, and that's in my more open area. This candle had a noticeable presence. It was like a 7.5 to an 8 for its entire life. It burned quite strongly and nicely from top to bottom. You did need to watch the burns. Sometimes after about the 2-hour mark, the flames did start to get a touch out of control, and so I'd put it out really quickly. I do like to keep Goose Creek candles usually to a 2-hour maximum. Even though they say 3, I find like a lot of the time to get the most out of these and to be on the safer side, you want to limit it to a 2-hour burn. But yeah, it was strong burner all the way from top to bottom. I burned it until the entire thing had liquefied and it was like finished. I didn't let it extinguish itself because I feel like it was starting to lose a lot of steam, and so I just called it a day at about this mark, but I was really pleased with that one. I just think it's a terrible concept. Black Cat doesn't make any sense. I would rename and repackage this candle as like Scary Campfire Stories. Yeah, Scary Campfire Stories. Yeah, really nice. Really good. I also finished up Graveyard Ghosts from Goose Creek, and this is another one that I really liked. I like that these ghosts look friendly because it really isn't a super spooky candle. Really nice colored wax on here as well. This one burned all the way until it extinguished itself, and 2 of those wicks kind of kept going a little bit longer than the other one. It just put itself to bed. But that wasn't up until this this point, so it was a pretty good performer for the most part. The scent notes on here are Cool Waters, Graveyard Mist, Bergamot, and Cedar. Now, what I like about this is that the bergamot isn't really like a super bright, high-pitched, zesty bergamot. The bergamot feels like it kind of mingles with the cedarwood note in like the base of this candle. And what I get on top is more of an unlisted eucalyptus, something a little bit like cooling and menthol-y. I think maybe Cool Waters is like that unlisted eucalyptus note. And it's a fairly mid to high ranging candle, but it's quite nicely balanced. It does stray a little bit into a sort of perfumey cologne territory, but not in a way that turned me off, in a way that was just, you know, pretty typical of like sort of briny, foggy sort of candles like this, right? I really enjoyed this one, yeah. And it performed really well, like I said. Strength and throw on this was a really solid 7, I'd say. Solid 7 for sure. 6.5 during its weaker moments, but it definitely got up to a 7, and that's in a more open area. Pretty nice clean burn from top to bottom. The wax did get a little bit discolored, and you do see a little bit of like dark sooty marks around the side of it, but for the most part, really no complaints. It was a strong performer and a nice fragrance. I liked that one a fair bit. I also finished off Magical Pumpkin from DW Home, and I have to say, I really think DW Home killed it with this line of candles. I bought 3 of them, and I have liked all 3 of them. All 3 of them have performed quite well. I did a review already for Storybook Pumpkin, and right now I'm also burning the Crystal Pumpkin, and it's doing really well also. So I do tend to have the most luck with DW candles that are in this larger 15-ounce 2-wick format. The scent notes on Magical Pumpkin are Autumn Pumpkin, Spicy Crushed Clove, Toasted Allspice, Lavender, Blue Sage, Sandalwood, and Vanilla. And what I like about this is this actually felt much more like a Halloween candle than a fall candle. It's kind of like a dark, spooky floral candle, actually. Like on top, you have like that lavender note. I'd say first and foremost, what you get from this candle is lavender, but it's kind of like a dark, weird, spooky lavender. And you do have a little bit of like a pumpkin spicy clovey situation in the mid, and then the base is kind of like this really dark musky woodsiness. I don't really pick up on the vanilla in this. Like, it's not like a very smooth light candle. It's a little bit heavy-handed as far as like a floral goes, but something about it kind of works for me. It's actually quite nicely balanced. And it's kind of an interesting, weird lavender candle, and it performed quite well also. I'd say that the strength and throw on this was probably, in my Hurricane, in a medium space, it got up to a 7. Which is pretty remarkable for a DW candle. I'd say that on its own, in my more open area though, it got up to like a 6.5. Like, it was absolutely noticeable for sure. Yeah, I actually really ended up liking this one. Like I said, I have full-length reviews out for most of these candles. You can check them out below. How is everybody's weekend going? Mine's going really well. I had a fun time last night. It was my friend Claire's birthday, and she wanted to go dancing. And so after we had like a really lovely steak dinner, we headed our way to the gay bar at like 11 o'clock at night, and we were dipping it and doing it with all the 20-year-olds there. We actually ended up having a really spectacular time, so that was a lot of fun. Today I've just been running a whole bunch of errands. I'm trying to get all of my ducks in a row. The weather is turning quickly here in Calgary, and so I got out my torque wrench and I put my winter tires on my car. Oh, putting my winter tires on my car is always like such a heartbreaker. Like, I hate doing it, and it's just this reminder that pretty soon I'm gonna be driving around and skidding down the icy streets of Calgary. Oh, Lord help me. Anyway, so I got that out of the way, which was good. I actually have a really busy week coming up, folks. You know, we've got Halloween happening soon. I'm gonna continue reviewing a Halloween candle every day up until Halloween. And then the day after Halloween, I'm going to Vancouver with my friend Teddy to see the Roisin Murphy concert. Me and my friend Teddy have this little tradition of like 2, 3, 4 times a year. We'll just kind of look at each other and be like, girl, we gotta get out of here. So we'll put on big sunglasses and a big hat and catch a flight out to Vancouver and book ourselves into the Pan Pacific Hotel and just go to the spa and eat at some good seafood restaurants. We've got reservations at Joe Forte's, which is one of the best seafood restaurants in Canada, in my opinion, and I can't wait for that. Ooh, I've already been scoping out the menu online. Do you guys do that? If you know you're about to go to like a really nice restaurant, you check the menu out before you go. So now I'm all ready to be like, I'm gonna have 2 lobster rolls and the tempura prawns and the crab cakes and the snow crab salad, the lobster tail. Maybe we'll share a lobster tail. Oh, and the seafood linguine. That looks good. We'll have one of those too. So my mouth is already watering for the food. And then the second night we're there, we're going to the Roisin Murphy concert. Roisin Murphy is this really cool kind of like underground sort of electronic pop artist from Ireland. I've actually really been into her for like over 20 years now. She had some moderately big hits like back in the early 2000s, but she's pretty much become kind of an underground club act now. And even though I've been a fan of hers for so long, I've never had the chance to see her live. Like, she's never been touring when I'm over in Europe, and she almost never crosses the pond. So yeah, me and Teddy are off to Vancouver to like eat some seafood and go to the Roisin Murphy show. And so I have pre-recorded some videos for you folks, so it's gonna feel like it's business as usual like next weekend when I'm away. I've pre-recorded videos, so things are gonna keep on keeping on. But yeah, I've got 3 more reviews coming up this week until Halloween, so we'll talk more before then. And I just really appreciate you tuning in today for the Weekly Wax wrap-up. If you could hit me up with a like, a comment, or a subscription, that would really mean the world to me. And until next time, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, folks. Bye now.